Good morning, my dear students. How was your day?
I am normal. What do we have for today?
You seem excited, Miss Solomon. How about you, Mr. Laksina?
I'm good po, ma'am.
Why are you being good? You disrespect your teacher.
No, he means okay. In their country, Philippines, thumbs up means okay. Understood?
Oh, I'm sorry, teacher. For us, it's a bad gesture.
No worries, my dear. Our topic for today is appropriate for that matter. That's actually an example of cultural barrier. Anyway, let's all watch this.
Globalization is a process of worldwide expansion. It is the exchange of information, goods, services, technology, and culture in a global scale. This exchange has been running for millennia. It started even before the term globalization was coined. Some argue that globalization began with the earliest human migratory routes, or with Genghis Khan's invasions, or travel across the Silk Road. The rampant conquering and colonization throughout history occurred, sharing of ideas, mixings of culture and people, and trade across those conquered lands.
Let's move now to the communication and globalization. Advance in technology helps communication by ensuring the instant delivery of messages and other forms of data to any location on the planet. In the present, communication comes with a various medium through the use of technology. Different applications are created to communicate with the people from the other side of the world. There are factors that can help an individual to select the most useful communication skills development programs for himself and herself. Number 1, virtual interactions. The understanding of the strengths and limitations of different communication media on how to use medium to maximum effect. Number 2, cultural awareness in speech. Process of interaction and integration among the people, companies, and government of different nations. Number 3, cultural awareness in body language. Understanding that the physical expression of their own culture are not universally accepted. Number 4, time differences. Teaching people to understand the information needs of their colleagues according to the communication styles of different countries or cultures. Moving on to the global communication in multicultural setting. Diversity of people and culture impacts communication. Differences in behavior, language, and emotional display has a big impact to the workplace and relationship with the workers. The way they conduct work, solve challenges, styles, negotiate, and establish relationship differs from one another. Misunderstanding and miscommunication are inevitable. So, overcoming cultural barriers. Overcoming cultural communication barriers is possible, and this will ultimately leads to a stronger workforce. Multicultural perspectives allow for better understanding of the customer, and it encourages creative solutions to the problems. Learning to communicate and draw on the positive aspects of each culture benefits everyone.
Now, let's move on to the dimensions of cultural values. Cultural dimensions summarize the extent to which cultural groups are found empirically to differ from one another in terms of psychological attributes such as values, beliefs, self-control, personality, and behaviors.
Ma'am, I think that topic is related to us. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am, I agree with her. It talks about how we differ in our own culture.
Indeed, my dear students, one living example is the both of you, a Filipino and a Russian. You will both have different cultures, values, and actions in the society. We will watch some clips for you to understand and discover more.
Geert Hofstede, a Dutch engineer and social scientist who studied the systematic differences in national cultures and came up with 6 basic issues that society needs to come to term with in order to organize itself. These are called dimensions of culture. The following are the dimensions.
Number 1. Individualism versus collectivism. Hofstede's first cultural dimension describes the degree to which members of a society feel beholden either to the interest of the community at large or to their own personal interest. In countries with high IDV scores, people act primarily in service of their own interests, opinion, and well-being. They may glean very little satisfaction from the accomplishments of others as opposed to their own individual accomplishments. Countries with low IDV scores can be described as collectivistic. Members of these societies are more likely to feel loyalty to and personal responsibility for the well-being of their community at large. People act primarily in service of a wider group dynamic and are willing to suppress their own opinions or interests in order to preserve harmony.
Number 2. Power distance. Power distance is a term that describes how people belonging to a specific culture and view power relationships. Low power distance, where the relationship between bosses and subordinates is one of dependence. Hierarchy is just there. In other words, it is existential. It's there and that's good and normal. Special treatment. Typically, there are privileges for the people in power. Example of low power culture are the Netherlands, UK, and USA. For the high power distance, it's where the relationship between bosses and subordinates is one of interdependence. Good reason for hierarchy. When there are so-called hierarchical layers, there must be a good reason for this. Putting a management layer or manager in a place just like that will not easily be accepted. What goes for you goes for me, or equality. If you are allowed to do this, then I am allowed to do the same as well. Example of high power distance culture are Belgium, France, and Malaysia. Number 3. Uncertainty avoidance describes the extent to which members of a society see issues in rigid black and white terms, and thus the degree to which they are disturbed by change and uncertainty. We have low uncertainty avoidance. This suggests that country has less concern to uncertainty and ambiguity. Examples are US, UK, and Denmark. For the high uncertainty avoidance, suggests that country has low tolerance of uncertainty and ambiguity. Examples are America, Latin America, Japan, and Germany. Orientation to time describes the extent to which members of a society perceive a consistent, interconnected thread running through the past, present, and future. The dimensions of time speaks to how communities are oriented towards space and time, including their tendencies towards traditions and the past, and their orientation towards the future and the present. Short-term orientation. In short-term oriented work, employees tend to change jobs more often, while in long-term orientation, supports strong work ethic and result of today's hard work.
Number 5. Masculinity and femininity dimension. The masculinity side of this dimension represents a preference in society for achievement, heroism, assertiveness, and material rewards for success. Its opposite, femininity, stands for preference for cooperation, modesty, caring for the weak, and quality of life. All countries with high MAS scores, regardless of their gender, people in these countries taught from a young age that life consists of never-ending series of competitions and that journey to top is cutthroat. Countries with low MAS scores can be described as valuing traditionally feminine traits such as modesty, empathy, and agreeableness over more masculine ones. Number 6. Indulgence versus restraint. Indulgence stands for a society that allows relatively free gratification of basic and natural human drives related to enjoying life and having fun. Restraint stands for a society that suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it by means of strict social norms. All countries with high indulgence. People from indulgent countries are likely to place value on freedom of speech, to emote freely, and to actively solicit feedback from those around them. All countries with low indulgence versus restrained scores. Restrained cultures are those that regulate behavior via strict social norms and prioritize the fulfillment of one's obligations as the fulfillment of one's life purpose. Business and culture. Culture is society's way of creating social connectivity among a group of people through origin, belief, institutions, religion, music, and art. In business, culture is often defined by shared behaviors, experiences, and interaction among people in the workplace. Culture is filled with unwritten rules that govern how we interact with others, what we value, what we celebrate, what we revile, what we will and will not tolerate. Business and intercultural management experts have explored the subject of cultural influence in workplaces for decades.
So, after watching all those clips, what are your takeaways? What are your realizations? Or what have you learned? Can I hear from you, Mr. Laksina?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I learned that through the use of global communication, it explores not only what happens when people of two different cultures meet, but also what happens when people from variety of cultures and ethnicities come together in one organization, community, and country.
Very good. Okay. How about you, Miss Solomon?
I learned that the culture in which individuals are socialized influences the way they communicate, and the way individuals communicate can change the culture. Culture provides its members with an implicit knowledge about how to behave in different situations and how to interpret others' behavior in such situations.
Okay. That's a great takeaways, my dear student. Though we differ from culture, oneness and respect are the values we always possess, even though there are barriers and issues we encounter. All of this can be settled for the betterment of our communication, especially of different nationalities. Uh, that's all for the topic for the day, and thank you for your patience, even though we have connection problems. I hope new knowledge was important for you in this class, in this hour. Have a great day ahead, my dear students. Bye.